we are a younger sibling of Julia's, the New Addington, the Fieldway Food Hub, and started along very similar lines. But yeah, I just wanted to thank you all this evening, and just take the opportunity to say thank you to Purley Food Hub for the amazing financial support that you've been giving to us and the regular food donations of ambient goods. And I particularly want to take the opportunity to thank Louise Wilmer and the team for making sure that every time Dave and Kathy from our church go down to the URC, they leave with their car absolutely groaning with tins of food. And I just want you to understand what that means to us. When Dave and Kathy return, there's a team of volunteers waiting there to unpack the car, and it's just with a tremendous sense of excitement, but also just amazement and thankfulness that the team are able to sort these tins and these packets of food out. And it really does make a huge amount of difference to us. So a really, really big thank you, because I know the team at the URC do work very, very hard. So thank you for that. Of course, the tins of food that we get from you guys at the Food Hub is not our only source of food. We have a collections team that's going out to supermarkets 7 days a week, and we also get a weekly delivery from the Felix Project. So a lot of this produce is all produce that would otherwise have gone to landfill. And just to help you to understand the scale of the food that we get, particularly from these fresh donations, is that each year we get 30 tonnes of food from FareShare that would otherwise have gone to landfill, and we now get 10 tonnes of food from Neighbourly, which deals with some of the other supermarkets. FareShare deals with some supermarkets, Neighbourly deals with other supermarkets. So as well as being a social project, it's actually a really good environmental project in making sure that food that's perfectly good to eat is not going to landfill and is being distributed to the people who need it the most. But it means then that we're able to provide the people who turn up to us on a Friday with not just tinned food and packet food, but fresh fruit and vegetables. We give them bread, we're able to give them meat, we have freezers and fridges, so we're able to give them that chilled and frozen food. And most of all, and most importantly, is choice about what they want and what they would find most useful. So demand for our service is high. Each week we're seeing around 70 families, and we know that in the coming months that it classically goes up by 20% as we head towards Christmas. And every Friday morning, the people who come to us, we open our doors at 8 a.m, but we know that at 5:30 and 6, the queue starts outside of our door. But when they come in, they're greeted by our team of volunteers, and they are greeted, hopefully, by the smell of freshly brewed coffee and pastries and fruit and cereal, because we know that the majority of our people come through right at the beginning of our session, and if they've been queuing since 5:30 in the morning or 6 a.m, they probably haven't had anything to eat. But also sitting down, giving them a hot drink, giving them something to eat, then allows our team of experts to begin to work the room. We use the tagline, we're a hand up, not a handout. We don't want to just give them food, we want to be able to sit down with them and work out, why are you here? What can we do to make your situation better? So we work with amazing organisations and departments like Big Love Foundation. I know Patty Boyle from Big Love spoke last year at the AGM. We work with Croydon Council, Clear Community Web, Mind, the Household Support Fund, the DWP, and it would be remiss of me not to say Julia Lee, and our local councillors. all committed to understanding why those people who come to us on a Friday morning are with us and how we can help them to ensure that they no longer need us. Every Friday morning when we have our volunteers briefing, we say the aim is always to close ourselves. We want to be able to get to the root of what is happening so that over time they no longer need to use us. But as I prepared for this evening, I started reading from the book of Isaiah, chapter 65, and I wanted just to share a couple of thoughts with you about it, because it paints a picture of a world transformed. A world where sorrow and sighing flee away, where abundance reigns, and where every tear is wiped dry. It's a vision of a new heaven and a new earth, where the wolf and the lamb lie down together, and where lions eat straws with the ox. This is the world we are called to build, here in our little corner of Croydon and Purley. It's a world where food banks are not monuments to scarcity, but testaments to the boundless generosity of a community that refuses to let any of its members go hungry. Isaiah's vision goes deeper than full stomachs and overflowing shelves. It speaks of a world where people build houses and dwell in them, where they plant vineyards and eat fruit. It's a world where labour is not in vain. It's where every hand that toils reaps a just reward, where every seed sown bears fruit 100-fold. And this is the kind of deep systemic change that I think we must strive for. We need to be more than just food providers. We must be architects of opportunity, builders of society where every person has a chance to thrive, to contribute their gift, to build a life of dignity and purpose. So we gather today not as fellow food providers, but as participants in God's ongoing mission of restoration and renewal. We are called not simply to maintain the status quo, but to embody the radical hospitality of God's kingdom, to be a disruptive presence in the midst of a world obsessed with scarcity and self-interest. And as Trevor so eloquently put it in his annual report, we need a more enlightened approach to ending food poverty. Isaiah's vision is often relegated to the realm of a future hope, but it finds its nowness in the ministry of Jesus. He didn't just promise a future paradise, he embodied it, he enacted it, he made it present in the lives of all those he touched. And so must we. We, like the Food Hub, are called to be one huge team effort with our volunteers, supporters and donors all playing their part and God at the helm. We're called to be more than food charities. We are called to be a sign, a foretaste, an outpost of God's kingdom, where the abundance of God's love spills over to those whose lives, those who hunger, not just for food, but for meaning, for belonging, for a future filled with hope. We must recognise, as Sabine Goodwin and IFAN reminds us, that food banks can only ever provide a temporary sticking plaster for the problem of hunger. This means that I think we must move beyond the transactional, beyond simply meeting immediate needs, and embrace a more transformative approach. We must become cultivators of human flourishing, creating a space where people are not just fed but empowered, where they are not just recipients of charity but active participants of their own liberation. And we've worked really hard at Old Lodge Lane Baptist Church Food Stop to turn it into a vibrant hub, a place where people gather not just to receive food, but to receive expert support and learn skills through our amazing team. A place where they can share stories and build community over freshly brewed coffee and pastries. But this isn't purely functional. It's a calling, a challenge, an invitation that God extends to each one of us to participate in his redemptive work in the world. Not in some distant future, but here and now in the lives that we encounter. I am convinced that we must become catalysts of change, facilitators of transformation, midwives of a new creation and curators of hope, creating a space where people encounter not just food, but the abundance of God's love, where they discover not just sustenance, but their own God-given potential. We must become cultivators of community, fostering a sense of belonging and interconnectedness, where everyone feels valued and empowered to contribute their unique gift. God's call to us is to become agents of justice, challenging the systems that perpetuate poverty and equality, advocating for policies that ensure that everyone has access to the resources they need to thrive. As God's people, we are called to be a prophetic voice, speaking truth to power, demanding a society that reflects the values of God's kingdom, compassion, justice, and radical inclusion. Perhaps this begins by joining the call for increased universal credit and better access to local authority grants, echoing IFAN's letter to the Prime Minister. Friends, the journey ahead might be challenging, but it's also filled with immense possibility. On this evening of celebrating all that God has done through the work of Purley Food Hub, of which we are immensely thankful, let's embrace the continued adventure. Let's step into the unknown. Let us be bold in our vision and courageous in our actions.
Amen.